do some calculation examples. So we had 231 million euros available for funding projects, and we managed to fund 138 projects. And so for us, it was a good share of money, and I think we managed to fund a lot of interesting projects. But if you have a look and compare it to the budget available for regional policy, our budget would be only 0.07% of the total regional policy budget available for this funding period. And if you do another calculation and break it down to the budget of the program on the money spent per citizen per year, it would mean we spent 0.22 euro cent, 22 euro cent per citizen and year. So what could we still manage and reach with our program and thanks to our projects? Let's have a closer look at the project that we funded under the priority 2, the low carbon projects. So here we had 25 projects funded involving 271 partners from these 9 member states, and we had 43 million euro of ERDF funding invested in this priority. The Prospect 2030 project was also funded under priority 2, in particular under the specific objective 2.2, focusing on energy planning and energy planning strategies and policy in order to support the climate change mitigation. It was one of the 9 projects that we funded under this specific objective. So 9 projects out of the 25 were funded for energy planning strategies. Yeah, let's go and have a look. Who are these 9 projects? We have projects clustered to thematic topics. We funded 3 projects dealing with good governance, the City and Gov project, Prospect 2030 project, and the NSCE project. 1 project dealing with energy financing, FIRS-CE. 3 projects focusing on renewable energy sources, namely Geoplasma CE, RURES, and Entrain. We had 1 project focusing on waste heat recovery, CE Heat project, and 1 project, also very interesting, focusing on energy storage, the Store for Hack project. Yeah, I would like to go a bit into the details of some of the projects and showing you what the projects dealt with and what they achieved. So the City and Gov project, which was working on strategies and on good energy governance, the project is already closed, and it developed strategies and action plans for improved energy planning. They came up with a transnational concept for setting up energy units in public administration, and also an energy best practice catalog that is available for stakeholders, energy planning toolkit for public authorities. So in practical terms, they really managed to improve the capacity for energy planning in municipalities, and they managed to set up 9 new energy units in public administration, and 9 energy plans were set up throughout the project. Then maybe another project to pick out, the RURES project, also already closed. It's a project that worked on alternative financing models, strategy and action plans, how to implement energy efficiency plans with alternative financing models, and they developed a tool for regional added value calculation for renewable energy sources and energy efficiency. And they provided an online handbook for value calculator. So they also had quite interesting pilot projects, and one was, for example, setting up a new ventilation system with heat recovery, replacing a very old system, and it was a huge success. And in Hungary, for example, they set up a pilot energy yard with different renewable energy sources, and with the savings they made through this energy yard, they could finance further investments in renewable energy sources and energy efficiency sources. The first project, also very interesting, they focused on increasing capacities in the industry sector in order to better manage energy plants and to contribute to the low carbon energy transition. And they also came up with guidelines on financial instruments available to support the energy plants in the industry sector, and a tool to assess public investments. Yeah, the NSCE project was a project involving the citizen in local energy planning. Also here, a very interesting approach how this can be done. And yeah, I won't go into the details of all the projects. You can look them up on our website, but overall you can say that the project that we financed under this specific objective, they managed to reach really a hands-on result, and showcasing it through pilot measures. And what is also interesting to see that through these pilot measures and pilot investments, new approaches could be demonstrated. And just to give another example, the RURES project really managed to leverage additional funds for follow-up investments. So they managed to leverage 920 million euros from local, national and European funds in order to do more measures in this energy efficiency and energy planning sector. So, if you would like to know more about our projects, I would like to invite you to come to our project website to look up the projects, or to go into the project stories and the output library that we have developed. So in the output library, you have this nice flower or tree where you can go along and look up the results, the tools and strategies of the different projects under the 4 thematic priorities. And you will soon find also the results, the outputs of the Prospect 2030 project there. Yeah, this is it from my side. We will see each other tomorrow in another presentation where I would like to show you what is there available in the new funding programming period, and give you some information about our first call. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claudia, and congratulations to the program, which I think it is the first one to launch a call for this programming period. Am I right?
Yeah, I think we are one of the first launching the call. And
as usual, very efficient way of working.
Yeah, also Alpine Space, they are also they are also close publishing. I don't know whether they've published already, or it's
but
upcoming.
okay, it's not a real competition, but just to say that
Yeah.
you are on track with your program. May I just point out one question or one remark that allows me to go on with the conference, I would say. So the program is addressing, if we speak about governance, mainly, let's say, local, regional government bodies. So you were interested in the previous programming period to have regional authorities, local authorities on board because you are addressing policies, public policies. And so what is your feeling about this, and is this going to be also in the next programming period? I mean, are these your target actors, your main target actors?
Yeah, I mean, yes, public administration and capacity building, there is always a big topic. It was in the 2014 to 20 program, and it's even more in the new programming period. And also that you will see then that the program has a strong focus on energy efficiency and climate change topics. So here the Green Deal really impacts also on our program, and it's one of the most important topics. I would say that it's not only reflected in a specific objective, but it's also a horizontal topic that's going like a red line through all the program priorities and specific objectives. So it's that topic at the European level and on global level as well. And you can only manage to achieve these ambitious targets that we have set in the European Union if you do it, if you work with the public administration to bring along a change, if you work in behavioral change with the general public and with the industry sector, and that's where we would like to see our projects.
Thanks a lot. Indeed, the governance issue is something that we reflected quite a lot, and so I'm calling Manfred to jump in the conference, and we've had quite a long discussion and understanding of the different approach that we might have taken into consideration a different level of governance of public authorities, and so I would like him to go a little bit in this topic to introduce the next presentations. Manfred, the floor is yours. I don't hear you, so you should unmute yourself. If Manuela can support Manfred in muting.
Yes, okay. Okay, perfect.
Here. Okay. Hello to everybody. Thank you, Silvio. I said it's the old question. Can you see my screen?
Yes, but you better launch it in presentation mode if you can. Presentation
mode. Okay, yes. Should be visible in presentation mode now. So welcome to the territory of Prospect 2030. As Silvio already said, we had a big challenge. One of the big challenge, which was the different levels of governance within the consortium, which is mirroring pretty well the situation for transition planning all over Europe. I just want to give you a small overview on types and levels of action plans, because we are acting within the tension field of macro level planning as well as micro level planning. And we carried out action plans, but within these tension fields, so we had in the extreme 2 different types of action plans. Nevertheless, or nonetheless, both are action plans, which is on one polarity, the top-down action plan carried out by public authorities and coordinated more or less by their related public energy agencies. And such a plan on a very high level of governance is the action in planning is different from the action on the lower level. Action here on the high level is providing or managing funding programs and investment strategies, promoting overall development, removing barriers for investments, financing, but also assigning targets and beneficiary groups, which means on this level of governance, we are active to proactive, even developing framework conditions and instruments for action in the fields of policy, in promotion, funding schemes, and so on. On the other side, and this was the other end of the level of governance in the consortium, we had also on, just as an annotation, statistically regions. We had regions from NUTS 1, 2, 3, and even on local administrative units, so on LAU level, which is the lowest level of administration. Okay, we have here the ecosystem now of distributed actors. I just wanted, I don't know why it moved forward. Try to move it backward, yeah. So on the bottom-up side, and these on a lower level are bottom-up strategies and bottom-up plans carried out by local energy agencies and even private planning or consultation companies on behalf of local authorities, local, regional, sectoral stakeholders, and so on. And action here on this level is identifying potentials and targets in place according to existing programs and strategies, implementing specific measures using the given framework and framework conditions and instruments for action, but also by agreements, contracts. They are on much more private levels, nonetheless in a direct connection to higher levels of governance. And this was the reason why we needed to find a more suitable approach, because action planning on authority level is a little bit different as action planning on initiative level, even though carried out by authorities, by local authorities. So this is not a Kabbalistic tree of mysteries. It's just an approach to map the actors within that ecosystem of energy planning, and these actors are distributed because we are entering also an era of decentralized energy system, which require also decentralized planning. And the hierarchy, as it is shown here, will flatten much more. It will be more coordinative, and the overarching authorities are going to be more to have more an enabler role. And here we have now in the following 2 different levels of governance will be the contribution of Pio Lombardi for Saxony-Anhalt and Matija Vajdić for the Split-Dalmatia region. So different levels of governance, and we will see a comprehension on how they carried out their action plans. Split-Dalmatia is more or less a subsidiary territorial unit with some specific independent spheres of action, which are mainly administrative, but some on the low level also regulatory, statistically on NUTS 3 level. And Saxony-Anhalt is a constituent state of Germany, so on NUTS 1 level, a partially sovereign parliamentary republic, which has also the competence to make legislation framework, to coordinate and create financing instruments, and so on. So it will be very interesting now to see how these two regions on different levels of governance had and made their approach. Okay.
Thank you very much, Manfred. And just to let you know, Manfred was leading, let's say, this activity of energy planning. He belongs to the European Center of Renewable Energy in Güssing, and was really a good guidance for us in this difficult journey to plan the transition of the energy system. So I would invite now Pio Lombardi from the University of Applied Science to give an insight of the activities implemented in Saxony-Anhalt, and I invite both speakers to keep the time as much as they can.
Thank you, Silvio. I hope that everybody can see my screen.
Yes, you can go on.
Perfect. So, good morning to everybody. My name is Pio Lombardi. As Silvio already said, I'm working at the University of Applied Science, Magdeburg Standard, and I'm happy here to show you the results of our Prospect 2020 project regarding the federal state Saxony-Anhalt. So, who does not know where is Saxony-Anhalt? So Saxony-Anhalt is east part of Germany, former East Germany. There are in Saxony-Anhalt about 18 municipalities. The inhabitants are more or less 2,200,000, and we have just 3 cities with bigger than 50,000 inhabitants, which are Magdeburg, which is the capital of federal state, Halle, and Dessau-Rosslau. So as you see, in the last 20 years, the federal state Saxony-Anhalt has still an, I would say, demographic crisis, population decreases constantly. At the beginning of 2000, about 2,600,000 persons lived in Saxony-Anhalt, and now it's more or less 2,200,000 inhabitants. Also, if you see how many people live in a house, you see that at the beginning of 2000, the average were 2.2 persons per house, which was higher than the national level, and now it is 1.9, which is lower than the regional level, national level. Regarding the economy, most of the economy is based on the services. 61% of the gross value added comes from services. Then, second aspect, so second sector is the industry, and come the construction, transportation, and a small part comes from agriculture. Sorry. You see that even if we have a demographic crisis, the GDP of Saxony-Anhalt increases in the last 20 years. So from about 40 million or billions to 60 billions euro, which is also, I would say, not so bad. Change. So, how much energy is consumed in Saxony-Anhalt? So, if we want to talk about decarbonize the region, we need to understand how much energy we consume. And you see that in the last years, in the last 30 years, the energy consumed in Saxony-Anhalt decreased. After the reunification, it go down, and then in the last years is increasing. The reasons may be, one, because of the population density decreases. so less people live in Saxony-Anhalt. The second is that most of the industry, which were before the reunification, have been switched off, and also the energy demanded from such kind of industry decreases. But if we consider the energy consumption per capita, you see that the energy consumption is increases, mostly because the habitat in Saxony-Anhalt. Regarding the energy consumption, which kind of energy or which kind of sources we consume, you see that at first place we consume gas. So you see here European levels, national and regional. So the green one is for Saxony-Anhalt. The most consumed source is natural gas, which is mostly for heating, electricity, and also for transportation. Then come the oil and petroleum, which is mostly for transportation. Renewable energy is in third place, and solid sources like coal is the last place. Anyway, it will consume about 50% of coal in our energy generation, mostly for electricity and also for the heating application. The renewable is mostly integrated in the residential system because of photovoltaic. We have a very good program which support photovoltaic in houses, and on second place we have integration of renewables in services and in transportation because of biofuels. Just summarizing, so the CO2 emission per capita in Saxony-Anhalt is about 13.9 tons per year. So, which kind of actions have we focused on Prospect 2030? So we have listed 4 actions which, in our point of view, can speed up the energy transition and the decarbonization process. The action plans come from the stakeholder meetings, as well as by the meetings that we had with the Ministry of Saxony-Anhalt. The first one is a better integration of a local population in project, which means that if you want to speed up the energy transition, you need that the population is also on your side. We have also seen during our peer-to-peer session that one way to speed up, to have on our side the population is to use virtual reality tools, which better explain how a project like, I would say, a wind farm or an energy transmission line may affect the view or the lens in which the project will be installed. Second action plan is a better use of incentives that the people receive, instead to use them for bureaucracy. This action plan comes from the stakeholder meeting, in which has been pointed out that a part of money which could be used for the population is used for bureaucracy. For example, if we want to renew our house, we must have an energy expert and we must pay him. So it was one example that the stakeholders have found out. This use of money does not go directly on installing more efficient equipment, I would say, but as in the bureaucracy for making. The third and the fourth action are related to the hydrogen. It is not an energy generation. You know, hydrogen is more an energy storage, but hydrogen may be used for storing electricity coming from renewable, therefore green hydrogen. And according to with our ministry, we have made a roadmap in which we fix that by 2030 we will have 1 gigawatt of installed electrolyzer, which will generate green hydrogen, so hydrogen generated using only renewable energy, renewable electricity. For doing that, of course, we need also that the hydrogen grid will be extended. You know that in Saxony-Anhalt we have already an hydrogen grid network which fed the chemical parks on south part of the Saxony-Anhalt, but that grid must be extended in order to better exploit the generation of the conversion of electricity into hydrogen and to feed all the loads. So
you must move really fast to the end because
yes, just 2 minutes. I summarize them. So for the action plan, we have analyzed the scenario in which by 2030 the coal power plant Duben will be switched off as is already scheduled, and we have considered that the heat and electricity which is not generated by the coal power plant will be generated for the heat using heat pumps, and for the electricity using renewable energy. Besides it, we have also considered that the transportation sector will be electrified by 25%. So you see here the tables. We need to do that 1 terawatt, 1.7 terawatt hour electricity more. And you see here the table, how should be generated that energy? We have analyzed different scenarios in which only wind is considered, wind and photovoltaic split it 50-50, wind and biomass split it 50-50, wind, photovoltaic and biomass split it 33%, photovoltaic, biomass, and biomass. You see that if we want to use only wind, we must install 1 gigawatt more wind turbines. If we want to use only photovoltaic, we need to install 2 gigawatt more of photovoltaic. And then is the question, do we have enough places to do that? Or where should we install them? So, of course, we have also analyzed the economic aspect. It seems that installing the wind is the cheapest solution among all the solutions that we have investigated. And we have also seen which kind of impact we have on the CO2 reduction. As you see, we do not achieve to reach the 50-50% reduction of CO2 emissions by making the two scheduled actions. In order to do that, we have also investigated, okay, this the Sankey diagram, you see how it impacts on CO2 emissions. But the most important point is that if we want to achieve the 55% of the CO2 reduction, we must increase the electrification of transportation, which should reach a level of 91% instead of 25%. If we do that, we will achieve in Saxony-Anhalt the minus 55% of CO2 emission. And this is, I will say, the most important results that I can share with you today. Okay, thank you for everybody. If you have any questions, we can discuss maybe yet now or later.
Thank you very much, Pio, for your quick presentation of the huge work done in these years. And I invite Matija Vajdić to do the same for Split-Dalmatia, which was the region they targeted in Prospect 2015.
So, hello everyone. Good day to you all. Sorry for the background. It's my hotel room. It's London. It has nothing to do with Split-Dalmatia County, and I'm underneath the Tian Shan mountain in the middle of Asia in Bishkek, from which I would like to greet you all. But let's go to the sunny side of Europe and to our region, one of the nicest regions of Croatia, called Split-Dalmatia County. I don't know if you can see my presentation. I should put it probably in the full screen.
Yes, now it's perfect.
And now it works. So one more time, my name is Matija Vajdić and I work at the Energy Institute Hrvoje Požar as in the project management office. And I deal with various, of course, projects related to energy efficiency and renewable energy systems. The presentation is, the concept of the presentation is, let's say, pretty much similar to the one that Pio just had the numbers are a bit different. The first thing that comes to my mind is GDP per capita. If I divided correctly POS numbers, the one in Croatia in Split-Dalmatia is just 3 times lower than the one in the German region about which you just heard. So, it's area in the southern parts of Croatia with a population of 450,000 people. GDP, as already said, it's not 28, even though we are trying to catch up with German regions. It's 9,000 euros per capita. Service sector area, of course, all this, let's say, indicators are a bit lower than in the Western Europe. Number of households is around 155,000 households, and the average size is 2.94. We simulated everything we used LEAP for the simulations, and the population, unfortunately, is also dropping. That's the similarity to most of, let's say, European countries. It drops quite significantly in this following years, and then, let's say, the official statistics, the people that are doing this simulation, we use their numbers, are expecting a bit, let's say, more stable situation. But anyway, it will drop, which of course make a lot of different problems for energy. Of course, it might be good because, of course, it means that the energy will be lower, the energy consumption. In terms of income, as I said, we are following close what's going on with the rich European, let's say, regions from 9,000. I think Pio said it was 28,000, but we will not reach these numbers until 2,100 probably. And our task was to simulate it until 2030, which with the growth of a couple of percent, which would then grow up to 13,300 euros per capita. In terms of service sector area, of course, it is growing, as in, I would say, every country. The household sector area, because of also number of people that are dropping, is following this growth a bit slower. In the next 2 years, it should even drop a bit, and then it is supposed to grow. In Split-Dalmatia County, this is the basic, let's say, energy balance. The demand side is around 6 terawatt hours, 6.7 terawatt hours. We use the baseline of 2019 because this is the last year for which we have the available data. It uses 42% of renewables. The share is rather high because all the electricity is being, let's say, traditionally produced by hydropower plants. The major hydropower plants in Croatia are situated in Split-Dalmatia County. So this percentage is pretty high. And most of energy, of course, is produced, therefore, regionally in the county. If we speak about CO2 emission, it goes to 1,467 tons of CO2. And of course, the biggest impact is done by oil products. Oil products, a bit less comes from solid fuels that are used in industry. Oil products, of course, in transport mostly. Key energy priorities, we in a way wanted to make it as simple as possible because we don't see, let's say, innovative projects in the following 10 years, or at least not the ones that also Pio mentioned regarding hydrogen and so on. It will, of course, be used at certain points in the future, but not as much as possible. So we are going from the beginning. It was for this energy action plan, it was very difficult to actually gather the data. No one gathers data at a regional level in Croatia. We are mostly focused, we are, of course, a small country, smaller than some regions in Europe. So maybe it's also irrelevant, even though we are now pushing, and this project was a good support to make this transition in a way that also at the Energy Institute, which does all the, let's say, consulting to the government regarding energy statistics, energy balance of the country, we will in future, and for sure, Prospect 2030 influence this. We will for sure push this and try to gather the data also at the municipal level, not only regional. So we should go also lower. And this is, let's say, the first step. The inspiration is our tools like Energy Mosaic that is used, that Manfred maybe mentioned or didn't, but for sure he did once to me. And this is something that Austria uses. It's a really nice energy statistics tools that shows every single municipality in Austria and shows the energy balance and everything else. So let's hope that this also happens in Croatia in the future, and therefore for the region it's also necessary to have staff and have people that are able to gather such information. Energy efficiency, of course, these are related to let's say basic energy management. Of course, these are related to continuously, let's say, monitoring of energy, water consumption, and so on. This is also, municipality has certain, let's say, amount of money that they can allocate for various investments in energy efficiency. So therefore, we will for sure provide certain help to the region, to the county of Split-Dalmatia, to help them develop new programs. Of course, energy retrofit of buildings. I mentioned also here seismic because it's quite popular nowadays, and it makes perfect sense also in Split-Dalmatia region to make this detailed, thorough retrofit of not only energy systems but also construction. Retrofitting of buildings, neighborhoods. This is, let's say, a new principle in a way to cover more connected buildings and try to retrofit the whole neighborhoods based on, of course, following the middle zero energy building principles. Renewable energy, what county can do, it can of course improve, and it's just change the spatial planning, but this can also be improved in a way that the county also provides other types of layer, like biodiversity zones that are under whatever protection and so on. So the investors are very clear on where can they build whatever wind power plant, solar power plant, or whatever other technology. So they know exactly which areas are fine for investments and which are not. Of course, they can also, with communication activities and so on, they can boost the private. They should boost the private investments in this regards, and this is how we simulate, let's say, some kind of progress in new projects related to renewable energy. This is also, I mean, the county already has installed like 200-300 megawatts of 200 something megawatts of wind power plants. Solar is being, let's say, was on the side in a way for the last couple of years, but now the whole sector is booming. So we are expecting quite a lot in solar. And sustainable mobility, it's like the fourth sector that we are focused on. Of course, whatever alternative fuels there are, they're always good, and e-mobility, but also not only in the transport sector regarding the cars, vehicles, trucks, but also boats, and since it's of course the coastal area. Scenario until 2030, these are the exports from the...
I would invite to go...
Yeah, we will...
Towards the conclusion, 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, 2 minutes, no problem. So the most, let's say, investments are related to energy efficiency. Here you can easily see the void. These are two scenarios that we made. This is comparative analysis between BAU scenario and S1, as we called it. So this is something that they can achieve lower, of course, consumption in the future by introducing certain, let's say, measures. The same I exported for households, where you can see this is the energy balance, where you have different kind of fuels, and these are the systems, of course, within the households that are using it. Most of it is used for the space heating, some domestic hot water, and so on. In terms of energy, electricity is mostly used, which comes from renewable sources, which is very, very, of course, good, as I already mentioned. 100%, not 100, but 200% comes from. So a lot of electricity is being exported, of course, to other regions. This is the services. As you can see, also, like 90%. We are getting rid completely of all the oil products and everything that is, let's say, dirty in the future. This is a service sector in terms of different types of usages. Most of it is for the non-thermal use in the service sector, and Sankey diagrams, which also shows that a lot of electricity is, of course, being exported, which is shown here. All the production of electricity comes from either renewable, which are wind power plants, solar power plants, or hydropower. So there are no sources from the supply side. There are no, let's say, sources that are based on fossil fuels. But of course, for cars and for industry, you need to, of course, import a lot of fossil fuels. This is this 43%. And in the year 2030, this is the new balance. You don't see much of a difference, but of course, you will have the presentation. You will be able to compare these numbers, and then you can see that there are some, let's say, improvement in terms of the supply as well as demand. Also the losses, we simulated less losses and so on. So I would finish now with last conclusion. The final conference, the final event that was organized in Split happened last week on 25th of November, and we agreed. I find this Interreg project, the most important aspects of them is the sustainability, that there is continuation, of course, of everything we are doing. So the final energy action plan in Croatian language, of course, will be finalized by the end of this month. We will deliver them this document, and in February they said that on the county assembly we will have to present to all the county members, the county assembly members. These are mostly, let's say, politicians that will hopefully vote for the regional energy action plan, and it will come to power from February 2022. So in a way, we have to defend what we wrote also politically, and we promised. I mean, we will support them for sure for them to develop this energy efficiency program for 2020-24. This is in a way a action plan, shorter action plan with I mean, not action plan, but program that where we will present various measures where county really can make an impact in terms of energy efficiency and renewable energy systems integration. One of the key, of course, conclusions also from this event was that they should and they have to establish a regional energy agency, and they are about to do it. Let's hope that this will be a great success. So that's it from me. These are my contacts. Feel free to call me, contact me, and to reach me if you want to hear more details. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I think this conclusion also was very useful because I think we have in front of us a new periods of planning as the European Commission addressed new challenging targets in front of us. So I think all the regions must deal with it, and the sense of it is really in your conclusion to be the starting point of something that is going to come in the following years, that should be implemented, that should change really the energy system of each region. So thanks a lot. The time was not very much, and I thank you. I really appreciate that you kept the time as planned. Tomorrow we will have insights from two other regions, Mazovia region and Friuli region. And so I would like to move now to the second, let's say, step of the conference. We go a little bit more into the use of public and private funds. Of course, the implementation of regional energy action plans requires money, and the use of funds. This should be done in an effective way. So we discussed a lot inside the project in the consortium about this, and we came up with a policy recommendation, which I invite Karoly Oelberg from AACM Central Europe to present briefly. in 10-15 minutes, if you can, Karoly.
I think just a few seconds. He just lost the connection, but
This is wonderful.
comes back.
So after the presentation of Karoly, which was supposed to be, let's say, a kind of bridge to the discussion among the lessons learned from the previous programming periods in the use of public funds, we will have some other projects with us that we met along the implementation of the project.
Yeah, back.
He is back. Is he back?
At least Beatrix is here. And
So maybe my proposal is that we can start a discussion with the project, and maybe we'll leave Karoly presentation to the end of
okay.
it. So I would like to invite Martin Murovec, Elisa Sentimenti, Nicolas Stancioff, and as soon as you come to open the camera. See you. Come. Nicolas, can you show your nice face? Here you are. Okay, very good. So the question is that we had quite a good amount of money in the last programming period, and regions use these public funds also, as said in the introductory video, to leverage private finance. But what is really the point is that now we are starting a new programming period where, let's say, energy efficiency, energy transition is mainstreamed and is the key priority. So we invited different projects that will be presented by our speakers that are dealing with this topic and that are very much experienced with public and private financing. I would like to start with Martin. He's a financial expert at GOLEA, which is the local energy agency of Nova Gorica. And he's responsible for the implementation of SISMA and SISMA PLUS project, which has been co-financed by InterACMed program. So I would like you to provide really in 4 minutes the scope and the sense of this project and what has been the main outcomes.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello to everybody. I will present shortly like the SISMA Plus project. Together with other partners from Italy, Slovenia, Portugal, and Bosnia and Herzegovina, we are part of SISMA Plus project. SISMA Plus project aims to transfer the subsidy evaluation tool to the new territories. The SET tool was developed within the SISMA project. The SET tool carries out an energy and financial evaluation of energy conservation measures and can be used for 4 different types of public buildings, which are schools, gyms, office buildings, and healthcare structures. Agenzia per l'Energia Friuli Venezia Giulia and GOLEA, who are already the partners in previous project, will train the trainers at 4 new partners, who will then transfer the tool to the municipalities in their region. Those regions are metropolitan city of Bologna, Italy, then region of Podravia in Slovenia, Sarajevo region, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the metropolitan area of Lisbon, Portugal. The SET tool is a simplified tool that does not require detailed energy knowledge or, let's say, expertise for its use and compilation. So it's quite simple to use. The SET tool performs energy and financial evaluations of energy saving measures on public buildings and determines the minimum amount of public subsidy needed to make retrofit project Pamperl. The set tool is used by municipalities and other public bodies to choose the building on which prioritize interventions or investments regarding energy efficiency measures. We have two options within the tool. It's option A, which is a simplified energy assessment, and option B, where the energy audit for the building is needed. Especially when we have or manage several buildings and where no energy audits are available, option A, so simplified energy assessment, enables with little data to get a first technical and financial estimation of interventions. So we have the first insight about the buildings, where the building with the most convenient intervention in terms of subsidy and investment ratio may be identified. We can then prioritize buildings by this criteria. With this first assessment, we got quite useful information for further steps and decisions. For example, what financial model to use for a particular building. We can also gather different buildings in a package, and we can offer them to private partners to apply ESCO model and etc. As you see, the SET tool is a very useful tool. The SET tool improves local public administration technical skills for reaching the subject of investments regarding energy efficiency measures and boosts their confidence in innovative financial schemes. By transferring the tool, we are contributing to achieve deep renovation goals, and we simplify the decision making at the initial steps in the process of deep renovation of the buildings. So this will be, it was shortly about the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and it is really important as we maybe know, all of us, the key sector where energy consumption is really buildings and residential, public, and service buildings. So it's really important that we focus our attention on this, and the other two speakers also will focus on this aspect, which is, let's say, really important for the implementation of energy plans, but also for attracting public and private financing. So I will come back to you with a specific question, Martin, but now let's introduce Lisa Sentimenti. She's a project manager and coordinator of several European projects in the Energy Agency of Modena. She's managing several projects related to the support of local authorities, also SMEs in a region, and she's in charge of a Stepping Plus project, again an Interreg project, and this project is dealing with the energy performance contract, which is for sure a key tool to unlock energy efficiency financing. Please, Lisa, can you just explain the project?
Of course. Good morning, everyone, and thanks, Silvio, for such invitation and having me. Just let me add that the EIHP mission, our energy agency mission, is to provide our customers, either public or private, with sustainable energy and mobility solutions, as well as with initiatives trying to tackle climate change issues at the local level. Moving forward to the Stepping Plus project, it is led by Piemonte region, and we are leading the work package on training, which is focused on EPC schemes implementation, especially in the Mediterranean region. EPC within Stepping Plus are actually conceived as here as powerful financial tool for boosting the energy efficiency, but also the CO2 emission reduction and energy savings for and within public buildings. The Stepping Plus project, as stressed by Silvio, is an Interreg-Med capitalization project which builds upon the successful results of the former Stepping project, which was carried out from 2016 to 2019. And it is again promoted and fostered by the Interreg-Med authority, because I believe it is rather in line with the renovation wave strategy by the European Commission, which definitely calls for an urgent uptake of the EPC schemes. Two major products from Stepping project will be transferred to the new so-called receiver partners. Those are the EPC Med guidelines and the EPC simulation tool, which deals with basically financial simulation of EPC, which are targeted to specific projects. Furthermore, through the Stepping project, we have learned some important lessons, and we try to brought them also within the Stepping Plus new project. We can try to summarize them into 6 main lessons learned. The first one is that EPC can be a solution for deep renovation of public buildings, but there is not one solution working anywhere, and we think that a case-by-case approach must be followed. Secondly, technical assistance and EPC facilitators are of paramount importance, especially in case of very first EPC experiences. Third, blending funds can be really relevant in supporting and integrating the ESCO's investments in order to boost their capital capacity. Fourth, the management phase within the EPC contracts should be given special care. Fifth, the measurement and verification procedures we really believe are key for monitoring the actual energy savings. But what we learned that especially in the Med area, they are not yet properly implemented. So there is really room for improvement on this side. And last but not least, especially in relation to public authorities, we think that the focus should be not only on the financial benefits that are of course triggered by EPC schemes, but also on carbon emission reduction, on energy transition policies in the concerned territories, or for some context, they should be intended and deemed as means for supporting the creation of new jobs and the involvement of local SMEs. By using the aggregation approach that we experimented throughout the Stepping project, we expect also within the Stepping Plus project that by the end of our 16-month project to reach especially 6 more regions, the one that we call a receiver partner, and to achieve relevant results also in quantitative terms, such as more than 50 public buildings in the end truly energy refurbished, at least 13 municipalities involved, approached and trained, nearly 10 million euros triggered by energy efficiency investments, 3 new EPC investment programs, and 3 new EPC action plans, including regional stakeholders consultation. In very short, this is all basically concerning the Stepping Plus project. Of course, I'm available for any question which may arise. Thanks now, and Silvio, the floor back to you.
Thanks a lot, Lisa. And it's really for me also important to focus that we are today, let's say, in Central Europe, but in Central Europe we have really diverse climate conditions to deal with, and of course part of the Central Europe is IMET, and for sure I think some outcomes of the project can be useful also for this part of the programming area. We'll come back with you again, but now let's focus maybe more on residential building, which is maybe the key challenge we have in front of us. The previous presentations or discussion were discussing more around the need of renovation of public buildings, but the most of the energy consumption in the very fragmented, let's say, market we have in front of us is residential building. For having an insight on this, we invited Nicholas Stancioff, which is the director of funding for a future company. Is really experienced on financing and on the concept of deep renovation that he has been implementing in mainly Latvia and other eastern countries of Europe, but he's representing here the EUROPA H2020 project, and the floor is yours if you want to say a few words about this project or your activity.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Silvio. As the last time that you had invited me, I have learned more already than I'm going to give to all of you. My own involvement in energy efficiency and the residential sector comes from a very simple consultation. I had a challenge as a banker in looking at the legacy buildings from the Soviet era, what we call panel buildings, Corbusier buildings in France, etc. And I could not see a way in which these buildings could be helped, and the owners of these buildings could be helped. They have no money, or they have very little money, and they're owning a negative asset. What I realized was that energy efficiency could be the tool to renovate the building, not just to save energy, reduce CO2, and provide more jobs, as Lisa pointed out, but also to allow for a deep renovation. And I knew EPC, so I went with EPC. Today, thanks to the EUROPA project and the work I'm doing with Silvio, I realized that EPC is the right tool, but it's still a project-based concept instead of being a service-based concept. The real value, and Lisa pointed that out as well, is the monitoring and the measuring of the actual results. And therefore, if you turn the EPC into a subscription, into a service, the investment that is being made so as to provide a service to the owners for all of those years. And the main challenge we have in front of us is not just that it's a fragmented market, because actually, Silvio, when I spoke to the man who does EPCs for the Austrian real estate agency, something like 7 million square meters, he told me that every building is another fight, even though he has authority. So the public sector, the residential sector, the issue of split incentives, the issue of challenges in convincing users or owners or residents. Say in Holland, in one of the building associations that owns a lot of buildings wanted to renovate, the owners, the residents, sorry, the renters took to the streets to say, no, you're doing this to increase our rent. So I think that the lessons learned, and that I hope in EUROPA will continue to pursue, is really that we need to be able to offer whoever is the user, the owner, or the resident, a very clear service. And I like the idea of comparing it to a phone, cell phone purchase, where you have an investment, this hard piece of material, the phone, I'm looking for mine, and then you actually, what you care about is that there's a link, that it works every day, and you don't notice that it works. When it doesn't work, you're very upset, and you have somebody who has to respond to you. And I think that's what we should be looking at, and we can discuss all those challenges as whether or not it is effective. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and for sure this we will discuss later about this. I liked very much that you notice when it doesn't work, but you don't care when it works. I think this is
That's
really
the point.
A good philosophical, but really something that we see every day, but we don't realize. So thanks a lot also for this inspiring conclusion of your introduction. I guess we have with us Karoly. I can see his face, and welcome back. We live in a virtual world where connection is really important, and again we notice the connection when it doesn't work. So welcome back, Karoly. Okay, he's part of the consortium of Prospect 2030. He's managing director of AACM, which is a consulting company dealing with environment and energy in Hungary, and he has a long experience in financing. So if you don't mind, Karoly, I would like to start with a question to you. We already discussed a little bit about this, but I would like you to formulate a reflection about the fact that okay, I guess we are moving into a phase where public funds for energy efficiency will be more and more available. At least that's what we hear in the news. We have this recovery and resilience plan in front of us. At least for me, that I live in Italy, when public shortage and budgetary constraints of public authorities was the mantra that we heard for years and years. We cannot use public funds. We cannot use public funds. There are a lot of restrictions. So it seems that now the world is changed, and we have more flow of public funds in the market. So my question is, given this change, what can be the role of private financing in the coming future? I mean, what we learned so far, and how should we address this? If you can answer me.
Thank you very much, Silvio, for the introduction. I think that the role of private funding will be pivotal, more and more pivotal in supporting the green transition. We usually see, well, it is a common sense that the renovation need, the energy efficiency renovation needs, and the renewable needs much exceed the capacity, the financing capacity of public sources. That's a common sense. We usually see this problem has two fields. One field, what we usually see, that we have targets in the European Union, more and more ambitious targets, and we have to comply with and reach those targets. On the other hand, just 3 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, finished the climate summit in Glasgow, which clearly suggests that there are much larger global problems, climate problems, and those climate problems require public funding and private funding as well. So what we can expect in the future in Europe, that the public fundings in terms of in respect of climate change will be a large proportion will be directed to the developing world, and what funding remains, public funding remains. This will be far not sufficient, and this has to be complemented from other sources. As one example already explained is the S-code EPC concept, whereby whereby there's a dilemma, is the deep renovation dilemma. Deep renovation has no has very long repayment period. So there, it's a typical place, typical area where public funds and private funds have to be optimally blended. There are other initiatives which works. One of those is the energy efficiency obligation scheme, which already operates, I think, 16 European countries. This relates to the commitment or the expectation from the energy providers to reduce the energy production and energy supply by 0.8% annually. And in this way, large energy service companies and energy providers are made interested to address energy efficiency measures for final beneficiaries. And there are in the residential sector, we saw within the framework of our project as well, we saw successful credit clients with preferential interest. We also see, for instance, in Italy, the super bonus system, which is related to the taxation. So after all, without private funding, the global targets we will not be able to achieve, and we have to look also into the economic considerations, whereby high proportion of the green projects are bankable, and there are projects, however, where public grants should remain to play a role. Another technique when we are speaking about bankable project is to create from small projects to aggregate them to large sizable projects which already meet the appetite of the financial institutions, international financial institutions, commercial banks, etc.
So thanks a lot, Karoly, for this. Sorry if I interrupt you, but I would like maybe to ask Nicholas to jump in this direction. I mean, Karoly mentioned the need of ESCO market, so ESCO market energy service companies, and the need for aggregation for overcome this fragmented market. So can you just formulate a little bit about the role of the energy efficiency as a service that you mentioned in your project can bring to achieve the challenges we have in front of us? Since I guess we should expect something like a reduction of 30-40% of the energy consumption of the buildings in 10 years, which is really huge to achieve.
A couple of points. Yes, it is huge to achieve. It's going to require a shift in paradigm. And with due respect to Karoly, that's one of the problems as we talk about an ESCO market. The ESCO market is a very specific niche business that's run by several large companies and some smaller ones. I think of Risalta, for instance, out of Slovenia. But where the basic business is to deliver a specific product and know-how that this company has. They're not so much interested in renovation as they are in delivering their product. Getting them to work as a truly holistic approach to renovation, which is what's needed in public buildings and in residential buildings, is not in their interest. Their margins are very clear, their processes are very clear. And by the way, I am quoting you one of the largest players at the moment. With all due respect to them, this is something that they have to really reassess. And that's why I say there has to be a paradigm shift. The business is good for them, so why should they change it? I get it. And it is risky to change something that works. So I get it. However, the same problem exists from the private sector financing. They consider this business as project finance. It was very interesting to hear both Lisa and earlier, I'm sorry, I think it was Martin, talk about the fact that they are building standardized guidelines and tools, because that's what I believe in. We have a standardized guideline, a standardized set of tools, which we use to have people work with, as well as companies. We believe that if we don't shift out of this ESCO, quote unquote, market idea, which, by the way, it's not small. I mean, Germany does 4 billion euros a year of ESCO business. However, if you do the math of how many billion square meters there are in Eastern Europe and in Central Europe that need to be renovated, we're talking about many more billions per year. So the shifting how both the companies think about the business and how the financiers think about the business is we have to move out of project finance into service finance, which is a very different business. And here, what I am promoting here in Latvia, and it is extremely difficult, I would say I have moved about an inch. I have a few people who believe in what I'm doing, one guy at the central bank, one guy in Ministry of Economics, and lots of people who totally disagree. But the idea is that any maintenance company, and here, Karoly, if you think back to the large maintenance companies that used to exist in Hungary as well, these are the people who should be renovating the buildings so that they then manage the buildings on a proactive basis. And I would say 40% savings in the buildings that I know, that's the start. We can do much better, especially if we have a paradigm shift. And as Lisa said, we do a transitioning from one form of energy or a smarter form of energy. Right now, I'm wearing 3 layers because in my building, they've learned to turn down the heat during the day because supposedly nobody's here. Thank you.
But can I just make one comment?
For sure,
yes, please.
Please.
Yeah. That what we are, I don't know whether Nicolas experiences in Latvia and Slovenia, but in some of the Central European countries, what we experience is there is mostly European grant funding for building renovation, and these are currently competing with ESCOs. So it's not, there is a need for a complementary approach as opposed to competition. That's one issue. And the other issue is that the final beneficiaries are pretty unprepared. So basically, I agree what Nicolas said, that who should do the building renovation, but they have significantly more knowledge and they can distort the system more in the direction of their interest. Thank you very much.
Nicolas, I think you want to reply again?
Well, no, Karoly, this is exactly what I'm facing. You can imagine the maintenance companies do not want to have to be responsible for this. The Riga maintenance company, in the meeting I was asked to meet with them, with one of the large. His opening comment: I know that we're a criminal organization. because of course I said we have to create a SPV.
Yeah. So high profit and no responsibility. Yeah.
Exactly. But that's why I say we need a paradigm shift. Thank you.
Okay. And we also have some norms and let's say legislative points that we have to respect. And for example, there is the need of renovation of buildings up to 3% of the surface for public buildings. This has been, let's say, this is not anymore valid only for central government, but it's extended to the wide world of public authorities. But it's not, if I understood correctly, it's not only renovation of 3% of the building stock per year, it's deep renovation of the building stock per year, which makes a lot of difference. So Martin, maybe I can ask you, how can we cope with this challenge in front of us, and can you give just some recommendation how to deal with it?
Yeah, of course, in my opinion, it's like a number of factors that are involved. The first one, it's like a good management of the process. The deep renovation of buildings is quite a long and complex process. It starts with the energy audit. Then we have to choose the financial model. We have to prepare investment documentation, project documentation, then public tender should be published, and we have to select the contractor, and only then we can execute the works. So the process is long, complex, and demands a good management to obtain proper results, so that we have like a good basis, good documentation, which will then lead to execution. Then the second thing is, I think, the transferring of experience. As we said before, we have the guidelines, but in my opinion, the most important thing is the transfer of experience and knowledge from those who already successfully completed these projects. I think it's very important to organize conferences and seminars where the municipalities pass over the experience and use subject. And as we said, it's not only about energy efficiency measures, there are also other measures which should be performed on the building and which support the energy efficiency measures due to really make a quality project. So it's good to have from the beginning a very good and clear idea what would be all the measures that will be like implemented in a certain building, not just that we have in mind the energy efficiency measures. The third thing is an importance then of availability of public funding, convenient loans and financial instruments for this kind of projects, because the budget of municipalities or also other public bodies are limited and the energy savings on buildings performed are usually low. So the return period for this project is very long. And also the percentage of the subvention, I think it's important. In Slovenia, for example, we had like the subvention from Cohesion Fund at 80%. And then it was reduced like to 40% of eligible cost in the last years. And there was very few like project done. In the year of 21, the subvention increased to 49%. And we noticed that a lot of new projects started. So, you know, when the gap between is too big, like for the funds that like public body has to like provide, then they don't decide and don't go into these projects. It's also important to promote APC model, because it's still not completely adopted as a model in some countries due to legal reasons or lack of ESCOs who would be interested to offer this kind of services. A non-developed market results in higher prices for the service and makes this model less attractive for the public partners. Plus, as was mentioned before, like the private partners, let's say, sell their products, and you know, the negotiations are quite impossible, let's say. So this would be like shortly a couple of like
thank you very much.
And as we see, it's really a number of things mentioned. I mentioned just some, and last but not least, it's also like the set tool which I presented before. gives an important contribution to achieve this goal, at least at the initial steps of like planning of the deep renovation projects. Thank you.
Yes, and I wrote some keynotes from your remarks. Let's say transferring for upscaling the success stories. Let's say public funding and for the limited budget of local authorities, and if I may say, standardization, as Nicholas already mentioned, to is the process. And maybe a last question for Lisa, which is perfectly in line with what you said, Martin. So again, we have in front of us a new programming period and the use of funds available from Europe for the regional development, ERDF funds. So what can be the role of these public funds for APC? I mean, we heard about leveraging private funds, upscaling. So what is your opinion? How do we need to expect from the use of these funds in the future?
Thanks again, Silvio. I gladly share with you all my perspective on the topic. Basically, of course, according to our past experience at Italian level and with public authorities especially. And I think suggestions for upscaling and boosting EPC schemes come up in relation especially to weaknesses and criticalities that we experienced in the past when approaching the ERDF funds, for example, for including them in the EPC investment plans. And according to our experience, for example, we think that awarded ESCOs of EPC contracts should be considered among the direct beneficiaries of ERDF funds. At least at Italian level, this is not possible because only local and public bodies are actually allowed to directly get the grants. And then the experience says that the reporting process turns to be not very smooth and rather risky, especially for the concerned public authorities themselves. Secondly, but in relation to this main point, integration and blending of public funds in order to support the ESCO investment, especially in not very mature markets, we think should be promoted, but only as far as this allows also the ESCO to still cover and be part itself of the real investment, the overall real investment. Otherwise, in our opinion, it is not definitely clear at all which risks are allocated to whom. And we think that for this reason, for example, the authorities at European level in charge of ERDF funds or regions involved to adapt those rules to the regional context should set a kind of a threshold for direct investment by the awarded ESCO. For example, 20% of the overall investment at least in some regions, and I think Karoly or Martin just mentioned about an example related to this. We know in some regions at Italian level, ERDF funds were assigned up to 90% of the investment. And in this case, it is rather obvious that EPC is no more an option at all. Additionally, as for further consolidated grants, or similarly to some European programs, providing also a kind of pre-financing could be, again, helpful for a not very mature market, again, and for ESCOs themselves, instead of getting the grants as it is now, only in the very end of the process or when works are finalized and completed. There is an issue also concerning eligible costs. Nowadays, for example, value-added tax, VAT, is a real cost for public bodies entering EPC process and deep renovation projects, but this is not considered an eligible cost, while especially for huge projects with deeper renovation, it should be because it is definitely 20% of the overall investment. And on the ESCO side, furthermore, nowadays, for example, internal staff cost cannot be reported among the financial cost provided by ERDF funds, and this is, in our opinion, a further shortcoming which needs to be solved, hopefully in the next programming period. We think also more flexibility should also be allowed if some changes occur when something changes throughout the project compared to the original preliminary project. And in this case, for example, primary energy savings targets should be the same, but the way in terms of energy retrofit measures that contractual figure is reached can be different from the very first project, and in this sense more flexibility should be allowed. Last but not least, we think regions in the next programming period in relation to ERDF funds should also try to better align those grants rules to consolidated and available grants for energy efficiency at national level, which can be integrated with the ERDF funds. For example, at Italian level, we do have the so-called thermal account, but as also Silvio mentioned earlier, we are also figuring it out in terms of the upcoming recovery and resiliency plans at national level. Nowadays, having different rules to be met for reporting results and actually getting the grants in the very end is really tougher and tougher for public authorities, especially for those, in Italy they are the majority, the small, medium-sized ones. On the opposite, providing common and clear reporting rules for all the available grants on energy retrofit, I think could really definitely make the difference and make the EPC process itself easier. This is basically all I wish to share with you today on this topic. So the floor back to you.
A very useful list of tips or recommendation. I will give the floor also to Nicholas. They want to
very shortly.
But but I want to say that the problem of blending on funds and also I think one aspect that you mentioned in a way is that according to my understanding, regions have been assessed and judged on their capacity to spend money they have in their pocket. I think this is really important. This is crucial. They have to spend fast. They have to spend well, let's say. But I think they should be also judged in a way for the leverage factor. I think this is also important. Otherwise, we go for 100% as much as possible. And I understand the regions that goes in that direction because it's. But okay, maybe we would need more time to discuss about this. Nicholas, your concluding words? Just 1 minute, not more, please.
No, less. I'm going to pick up on Lisa's points because she's given, it's very nice. She's given, the public view and it fits. We have to show how the private sector looks at it. So first point about the private sector. If I don't make money, I'm not in the business. And that's one of the reasons the guys are not there. We have to let them get rich. Point one. Point two, these are SMEs. They don't have a balance sheet. So we need to give them money up front, but they should have to leave a little bit of the money that they would have collected at the end of the project as part of the whole project. And they have to be paid for the service they're providing for the next 20 years. 30. In my case, at this point, I say 30 years. 2, the VAT problem. It should be a European directive, reverse VAT. You make an investment and then you get to pay the VAT as your beneficiary pays you for the service. So it's a direct pass-through, and we're not financing VAT for the government, which is ridiculous. So please, reverse VAT, look it up. The UK does it already. Eligible costs and flexibility in works. Yes, our guidelines don't say you have to use pipe size such and such or foam such so thick. We say, what are the results that you're getting in terms of air and environmental internal climate, and in terms of energy savings, and in terms of structural changes? That's it. How they do it, it's up to them. Of course, there are standards. Of course, but the point is, let's look at the results, not how they did it. And finally, I really like your idea. This is a brand new idea. We should have some sort of leverage factor bonus. In other words, you got it, Lisa.
Yeah.
This would be very sweet.
Thanks a lot, Nicholas, for these final remarks. Really, the time is rushing, and we are supposed to finish in 5 minutes. But I apologize if maybe we can stay 5 minutes more. If Karoly is good enough to present our policy recommendations in 10 minutes, and I will jump in when 2 minutes are.
Just one comment to what has been said here now is that the EU is developing schemes like one-stop shops, energy obligation, energy efficiency obligation scheme, ESCO. So there should be a more integrated approach between those EU instruments.
Which is one of the funding already of the project, let's say. Thanks a lot for sharing the presentation. If you can launch it in presentation mode, we can pass to the end. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Silvio. So my role today is to present the policy recommendations developed within the framework of Prospective 2030. And these policy recommendations aim to stimulate better use of public funds and the integration of public funds between the integration of public and private funds. This is what I'm talking to touch upon. Basically, we were responsible for the thematic work package 1. This is the structure of the thematic work package. The 7 regions developed, the 7 target partner regions developed individually a baseline study on how the public funds were used in the last programming period between 2014-2020. From these 7 reports, we generate a synthesis report, and out of the synthesis report, policy recommendations. In general, policy recommendations at macro-regional level, which is our concern under the Interreg Central Europe program as well. And finally, to develop a social media video, which we just have seen in the beginning of this session. What was our scope for developing the policy recommendations? We visited the decentralized EU funding. Decentralized means that those funds which are implemented directly, passed on the decentralized manner, passed on the recipient governments, and implemented under the competence of the of the specific countries, the governments of the specific countries. We also looked into EU low carbon initiatives, which are either centrally managed by the European Commission or its executive agencies, or which were attached to other financial institutions at first place, international financial at first place, the European Investment Bank. We also looked into national and federal funding schemes, cooperation with the private stakeholders, what we just have touched upon in our discussion, and other relevant initiatives. The policy recommendation, if I may go back to this figure, the policy recommendations were also built on the two other thematic work packages, the regional energy planning and the mutual learning and project replication. What we have, so the overall output, what we are expecting from the policy recommendations, that we propose or develop, formulate recommendations how to better use the public funds for climate change mitigation at four levels: the EU, transnational, national, and regional levels. We identified various policy during this assessment work, various policy areas, horizontal policy areas, and thematic policy areas. I don't go into details of those. Let's see what we are recommending for the at EU level. So at first place to the European Commission and its executive arms, is that what is our first experience, first conclusion is that our countries are and target regions are very diverse. So there are still a lot of space for learning, mutually learning from each other, replicate learning best practices, replicate best practices in the area of the low carbon transition. In terms of thematic actions, the conclusion of the project team and project partners was that the energy storage is such a key area for the future. The green transition, that it is recommended to address this energy storage at EU level, also calling on the cross-border nature of energy storage options, grids, etc. At transnational level, what we would suggest to further develop is the evaluation of the transnational project, more information on what the others do, what the others experience, and the ways how we can easily learn from those experiences. And thematically, it is regarded as a transnational concern how to develop in Europe the electricity highways, the high voltage power corridors, and how this can be better integrated with renewable based electricity. And also, if I refer back to the EU level recommendations how it can be integrated with energy storage options.
Minutes, Karoly.
Sorry?
2 minutes.
Okay. National, more targeted programming of ERDF funds, which really considers the regional needs. Is different. We have different public administration governance structures across Europe, and this mainly relates to the unitarian countries where there is only a central planning. Data, I think Matija mentioned lack of sufficient appropriate level of data, creating more favorable fiscal conditions. That's I think we also have touched upon, especially the VAT issue. We have identified several. I'm not going into details. This has partially been discussed in the previous panel discussion. Various financing instruments, the need for various innovative financing instruments. And also, last but not least, it's very important, and referring back a little bit the video, the comment in the video of Manfred, the social participation in the process. Promotion, thematically, what is expected is energy efficiency, promotion of ESCO schemes discussed, and energy efficiency in the SME sector. The large company sector is covered by the EU legislation. Public and residential buildings, we talk a lot. We talk less about SMEs. And at regional level, owing to the fact that there are different government structures in the various EU member states, we are proposing specifically and developing and strengthening the green governments at the regional level, depending, of course, on the current public administration structure. Communication and capacity development is an absolute need, and thematically, the promotion of renewables, the e-mobility, research and development, and the development of energy communities are recommended. Thank you very much for.
Thank you, Karoly. I'm really sorry that I was pushing you to finish, but it's more than 5 minutes the delay, and I thank all the speakers that were very good. So your final word was recommendation of regional energy local energy communities, which is let's say the topic we are going to discuss tomorrow in a similar roundtable discussion. After we get insights from other two regions in their development of their regional action plan, and also after receiving insights on the methodology that we developed in Prospect 2030 for drafting regional energy action plans. As I said, we also will have again Claudia Pamperl from Central Europe to have a focus on the new call that has been launched. So let's say more than one reason to be here tomorrow again with us. And thanks a lot for your time and your participation.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Bye bye. See you tomorrow.
See you then. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.